The most beautiful aspect of Islam is La ilaha illallah. There is no God except Allah. But imagine if I told you that the true meaning of La ilaha illallah is to hate other Muslims. What if I told you the true meaning of La ilaha illallah is to kill other Muslims and take their property and enslave their women? If I told you that, you'd think that I've gone insane, that I'm being a lunatic. What may shock you is that historically there have been Muslims who believed the central meaning of La ilaha illallah is to hate and kill Muslims. This was actually the first deviant group in the history of Islam. They were known as the Khawarij. What's interesting is that the Prophet ﷺ warned us of the danger of this group. The Prophet ﷺ told us in a Sahih Hadith, among the offspring of this man will be some who will recite the Quran, but the Quran will not reach beyond their throats. And they'll renegade from the religion as an arrow goes through the body of a hunted animal. They'll kill the Muslims, but will not disturb the idolaters. Now that's a dire warning from the Prophet ﷺ. But who are these people? Scholars have identified them and labeled them the Khawarij. Was Ibn Abdul Wahhab a Khariji? In an authentic hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, "O Allah, bestow your blessings on our Sham. O Allah, bestow your blessings on our Yemen." The people heard this and said, "and also our Najd." After the third time of the people asking for the Prophet ﷺ to include Najd, he said, "Najd is the place of earthquakes and afflictions, and from there comes out the horn of the head of Satan." So what's in Najd? Historically, the people of the Najd are characterized by ignorance and lack of knowledge about Islam. Najd was the land of the famous false prophet Musaylima, who fought against the Muslims and was killed in the Battle of Yamama. During the late 7th century, Najd then became a homeland for the Khawarij, who also waged war on the Muslims. Despite their ignorance, they claimed to know the religion better than the Prophet's companions, who they takfired and killed. When the Wahhabi movement arose, many scholars described them as Khawarij and linked them to the hadith condemning the Najd. These scholars noted that a defining feature of the Khawarij is that they declare mass takfir on Muslims and fight them instead of non-Muslims. If you think I'm exaggerating about any of this, just consider the fatwa from top Wahhabi authority Sulaiman ibn Sahman. Ibn Sahman was one of the highest ranking authorities in the entire history of the Wahhabi movement. There is no doubt that these apostates from among the Turkish soldiers and others are more disbelieving than the Jews and Christians, as is well known from the words of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. As he explicitly stated regarding the Nusayris, it is known that they outwardly display Islam, that they pronounce the 2 testimonies of faith, that they perform Friday and congregational prayers, and they appoint Sharia judges as they did when they took control of Egypt. So Ibn Sahman is citing Ibn Taymiyyah and claiming that Ibn Taymiyyah's opinion about Nusayris applies to the Ottomans. But how in the world are you going to compare Nusayris, who believe God was a man walking the earth, with Sunni Ottomans? How completely insane is this? If you remember, this is exactly the twisted logic of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, who said that the Sunni Muslims of Syria, Egypt, Iraq, Yemen, Mecca, and Medina were all mushriks worse than Abu Jahl. Why? Because some people in those places have Sufi practices like istighatha. Therefore, they're all mushriks worse than Abu Jahl.
The modern day Khawarij come from the teachings of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, that he was the one who declared the whole Ummah non-Muslim and began jihad, a holy war, against them to eradicate them from the Holy Lands. And you'll see ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, the Tuareg, Boko Haram, and their likes all spring off of this Wahhabi sect. Allahu Akbar. And they all have the same belief, that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the main body of Muslims, is not real Muslims. As a matter of fact, they believe they're mushrikun because they believe in intercession of the Prophet ﷺ at his grave. This is a very simple issue. It's not difficult. They make it so difficult. The law says in the Quran, O you who oppress himself, had you not gone to the Prophet ﷺ and seek his forgiveness, Allah would have forgiven you. The Prophet ﷺ is alive in his grave. Anbiya are alive in their graves. This is mutawatir. This is ijma'. This is known fact of all the Muslims agree upon. In Sahih Muslim, it says, when the Prophet ﷺ did the Mi'raj, he passed over the grave of Musa alayhi salam and found him standing praying. The Prophet ﷺ also, we all agree, talked to people in their graves. So that there's no issue with talking to people in their graves. There's no issue of reciting the Quran and gifting the reward to the people in their graves. There's no issue in making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the grave of a holy person. They are the muharram of Allah. They're the sanctuaries of Allah because the angels are constantly going up and down to these graves. They visit these holy sites. So where do we draw the line? It's very clear and simple. What was permissible to ask of the Prophet ﷺ when he was alive is also permissible to ask of him while he's in his grave. And it'll be permissible to ask him on the Day of Judgment. That's why Imam Nawawi, in his explanation of Sahih Muslim, he states that those who seek from other Allah only what Allah can grant, which is providing, which is guidance, which is protection. These type of things only Allah can do. Allahu Akbar. Not intercession. The Prophet ﷺ is allowed to intercede on us. As a matter of fact, it's mutawatir, he will do the intercession. He is the intercessor for all the people of the world on the Day of Judgment. That is the Prophet ﷺ's station. That is the Prophet ﷺ's maqam. Intercession of all of Bani Adam with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most angry with the world. Allahu Akbar. Something isn't tawheed, then becomes shirk, then becomes tawheed again. Meaning seeking the Prophet's intercession was tawheed, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, when he was alive, becomes shirk when he's in his grave, and then becomes tawheed again when he's resurrected. Allahu Akbar. So through this misunderstanding about seeking the Prophet's intercession and about speaking to the Prophet while he's in his grave, not making dua to him, not raising and saying, oh, Nabiullah, help us. No, this is not, no Muslim does this. This is not a reality. It's sahih. The Prophet said that he isn't fearful that his ummah would commit shirk after him. He's not afraid of shirk. What he said he was fearful of is that we would leave this religion by killing each other. And that's what we see in all the Muslim lands. This tribe fights that tribe. Ash-Shabaab is killing the Somalis there. The Tuareg are killing people in Mali, 100% Muslim country. Boko Haram is killing the Muslims there. ISIS is killing the Muslims in Iraq and Syria. Al-Qaeda is killing the Muslims in Algeria and all over in the other places they're at. Allahu Akbar. And the Prophet ﷺ said he was afraid of this. Not that we'd all commit shirk, as you're going to see Muhammad Abdul Wahhab believe that the whole ummah, save only a few, all committed shirk, became mushrikeen. And he said the shirk they're committing is worse than the shirk of the Quraysh who were fighting and oppressing and killing Sahabas and trying to kill the Prophet ﷺ. Allahu Akbar.
This is the deviant Wahhabi takfir doctrine, and as we've seen, Ibn Taymiyyah has nothing to do with this deviance. Never did Ibn Taymiyyah mass takfir Sufis or entire regions where Sufis practicing istighatha lived. Yet here is this so-called scholar Ibn Sahman citing Ibn Taymiyyah and applying Ibn Taymiyyah's opinion about Nusayris in order to mass takfir the Sunni Ottomans. Sulaiman ibn Abdul Wahhab, in the book we quoted earlier, also condemns his brother Muhammad as a deviant and notes that his teachings conflict with hadith. According to hadith, the Prophet ﷺ calls for Allah to bless the Hijaz as a place of Islam, and the Prophet ﷺ condemns Najd as a place of misguidance. Sulaiman observes that his brother Ibn Abdul Wahhab has the exact opposite view, claiming that the Hijaz is a place of shirk and that the true Islam is only found in his Saudi state in Najd. But the most offensive claim that they've made is this: Ibn Saud, who would eventually found the modern Saudi state, truly believed the Wahhabi doctrine that the British were superior to Sunni Muslims. Why? Ibn Saud wasn't satisfied with Najd alone. He desired to annex the Hijaz with Mecca and Medina. Annexing the Hijaz required defeating the Ottomans and the Arab tribes allied with the Ottomans. The opportunity to defeat these superior Ottoman forces came with World War I. In 1914, the Ottomans issued a jihad proclamation, calling on the world's Muslims to fight back against the British and other allied European powers, but Ibn Saud and the Wahhabis rejected this call for Muslim unity. In fact, Ibn Saud saw this as the perfect time to go the opposite direction and formalize an alliance with the British. Keep in mind that in 1915, the Ottoman Caliphate included not only Turkey, but also Syria, Palestine, Iraq, and the Hijaz, meaning Mecca and Medina. According to Ibn Sahman, Muslims in all these regions are apostate kafir mushriks, whose disbelief is more severe than that of Christians and Jews. The Wahhabis knew the British were invading and massacring Muslims, burning down their homes and their mosques. But they sided with the British anyway and celebrated when Sunni Muslims were being slaughtered, which would allow the Wahhabis to then retake Hijaz and the Arabian Peninsula. This is exactly what happened at the end of the war, leading to the collapse of the Ottoman Caliphate and the seizure of its lands, including Palestine, and of course the rest of the Arab lands were divided up into nation states, creating the dysfunctional mess known as the modern Middle East we know today. Now, most of you will immediately be repulsed by all this, and you'll wonder, how could any Muslim have this much animosity towards his fellow Muslims? How could any Muslim side with non-Muslim oppressors against other Muslims? But this is nothing more than the ugly horns of Kharijism, once again stabbing the Ummah in the back. Once again, this is the Khariji mindset that believes that truly accepting La ilaha illallah means hating other Muslims.
Prophet ﷺ said that when the prophets die, the earth doesn't eat their body. Okay. Because the earth doesn't eat their body, does it mean they're living? If Rasulullah ﷺ was not dead, then the Sahaba committed a grave crime by burying a man alive. Isn't it? If he wasn't dead, then what are they doing burying him? This is nonsense.
Hadith, yes. Sahih, yes. At-Tabarani and Ahmad narrate this hadith, and all the narrators are thiqat. They're all trustworthy, authentic narrators. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says this: Hayati khayrun lakum. My life is good for you. Wa mamati khayrun lakum. And when I pass away is also good for you. Tu'radu alayya a'malukum. Your deeds will be shown to me. If I see something good, I will thank Allah. And if I see otherwise, I will make istighfar for you.